Hello everyone, I am Sacrobolic, your envoy of hope, and welcome back to What I Watched This Week. Getting right into it, I started this week off with Bloom Into You. Bloom Into You is the story about a young girl who really wants to fall in love, but she begins to feel like she can't, while at the same time another girl falls in love with her, and they kind of end up in a one-sided romance. Until they don't. So, Bloom Into You managed to tell its dramatic story well, and it looked nice. The characters were all relatable and likable. It was an overall good show. But what really stood out to me about Bloom Into You was the negative parts of it, so I'm just going to let that 7 in the corner speak for itself and just get right into all the problems I had. See, Bloom Into You had what I referred to in the Citrus video as the Mirai Nikki problem, which, if you don't remember that video or you need a refresher or you didn't see it, refers to a moment in Mirai Nikki where Yuno admits that she would have loved anyone who would have paid attention to her, and Yuki would have loved anyone that could have protected him. Or something to that effect. I actually forget exactly what she wanted. But the importance of this scene, it's not a problem in Mirai Nikki, but it is a problem in other romances, is that it shows that the reason the main couple is together is not because of who they are, but of what they can offer each other, and basically shows that their whole relationship is shallow. This wasn't an issue in Mirai Nikki because the relationship was in a lot of ways intended to be shallow, but in Bloom Into You, which is an actual romance, I guess you could make an argument Mirai Nikki was a romance, but which is an actual romance, one of the main love interest admits to herself, and the main character admits this as well, that the only reason she's in love with her is because she doesn't feel as if the other person can reciprocate her feelings, and she wanted a one-sided love. So, when you look at it like that, it shows that she would have fallen in love with literally anyone who wouldn't have been capable of reciprocating. And in fact, there is a character in the series who's just straight up aromantic, who probably would have even been a better fit for her had she known, but she doesn't know. And the way the main character realizes her feelings is dumb. And the ending, they feel like they're building up to an ending, but the ending, I think, is actually the biggest problem, probably, with this show. Because, I don't think the show should have been made yet. I think the manga is still running, and I think they should have let the manga finish and then made a 24, 26 episode season and concluded the story, because as it stands, Bloom Into You just feels like half a story, because it is. They introduce the characters and the concepts and they set up conflicts, but by the end of the show, nothing is ever actually resolved, and you don't feel like anything was accomplished through the show. It presents you this idea and then it just leaves it hanging on the table. And I feel like that's the biggest issue with Bloom Into You. Then after that, I watched Real Girl. Real Girl is probably my favorite romance of 2018, but it didn't really have a lot of competition. The basic idea is that you have this, a lot of the characters in Real Girl are, classic character archetypes. The main character is, this nerdy guy, that he's antisocial and nobody likes him, and the main girl is this popular girl, and then they start dating, mostly on a whim. But what I appreciate about Real Girl is that it doesn't, it starts off with them as just basic character archetypes, but then it develops them past that, where undoubtedly they're cliche as shit at the start, but as their relationship changes and they meet other cliched characters, their interactions with them begin to develop their personalities and their future interactions into more positive ways. And you find out that the characters have more than just these surface level layers that are initially displayed, and the main character not as much of an asshole as you'd think. And he's learning throughout the show to improve his social reactions with people, and you get to see the main girl actually become jealous, which is pretty fucking interesting. And not like tsundere jealous, but like justifiably jealous, even though at the start of the show it didn't seem like she would be. It's kind of hard to explain, but it has a lot of like a surprising amount of like layers to the character, and the characters are in fact what makes it, and it comes together with like this almost like this realistic like bickering between them, and it's just like a nice cute romance. After that, I watched the night when me and my boss spent the night at the Capsule Hotel after the last train, and he passed his fever to me. Hopefully after reading the title, I don't need to explain what happens in this show. I feel like that was basically the point. No, I mentioned I wanted to watch this because it was like a josei series in one of the picking shows. I don't remember which one. And I have been trying to track it down for, I think, like at least 2 seasons or something. But I actually eventually saw a comment on a website while I was trying to find it that said, if you can't find it here, you can find it on a hentai website. And I'm like, all right, it seems weird, but sure, I'll go check there. And this series markets itself as like a josei ecchi series. Or at least, like, it's rated on Mal as, like, a josei ecchi series with, like, an R+ rating for mild nudity. And this is basically porn, and I just wanted to warn everyone that this is just basically porn. Also, it can go fuck itself, because the main character ends up falling in love with the main love interest, basically just because he rapes her in every episode, and that is not okay, and she should have ended up with the sexy model dude. So, shame, series, shame. Okay, then I watched Release the Spyce. Apparently the title is a pun. Apparently it's S-P-Y-C-E instead of how you'd normally spell spice, because they're spies. Get it? This is about a group of spies in a city that use drugs to fight a criminal organization of other spies, kind of, with really no real purpose other than to be evil and take control of the city. It's not terrible, but there's nothing really worth applauding in the series other than the ending scene, which I don't want to give away because I do think the ending is legitimately good, and a scene that I think was in like episode 6 where 2 of the enemy spies are just like sitting down at a table together, and one of them gets poisoned, and it's just a beautiful exchange that I actually had to back up and watch like 3 times, because I'm like, okay, that was fucking good. But otherwise, Release the Spyce, not really worth talking about. Okay, The Girl in Twilight. I can't believe this show was good. I went into this with the lowest possible expectations, to the point where up until the end of the final episode, like I was at the final episode, I'm like, I'm waiting for this show to fucking shit the bed. And then it got to like the last scene, and then I'm like, all right, last scene, can't wait for it to shit the bed in the last scene. Credits rolled, I'm like, oh, credits rolled, I guess I made it. And then an after credit scene hit, I'm like, after credit scene, now it's gonna shit the bed. And then it just ended, the episode ended, and I'm like, oh no, it was just good all the way through. Wow, okay. So that was a good show. So The Girl in Twilight is an alternate universe exploration series where a group of 6, like, cliche archetypical characters, I'll get back to that, travel to alternate universes, alternate timelines. It is alternate timelines. And they interact with the world in those timelines. However, and you could say that this is an incredible coincidence, and you'd be right. Each time they travel to a different world, I think each time they travel to a different world, it's usually directly related to one of the characters, and it is designed to take this like character archetype that she is, and it deconstructs it. And when I say deconstruct, I don't mean like a literary deconstruction, I mean like the opposite of construct it. Like, it breaks it down and evolves her character into, like, a more functional human being. So it doesn't just leave the archetype, it progresses them as a character. And it is great. And they do this for the entirety of the cast. And you couple that in with the ending, which throws in themes of overcoming grief, and fucking the girl in Twilight is just an absolutely delicious fucking anime. Whoa, fuck, it was good. I can't believe it was good. I'm shocked. I had the lowest expectations. But yeah, thumbs up, definitely. Finished off the week with Beelzebub-jou no Okinimesu Mama. So I'm just gonna call it Beelzebub. Beelzebub is probably the anime I can say that I think has conveyed an idea better than any anime I have ever seen. Ever. And the idea it successfully conveyed was fluffy. This show is fluffy. From the pastel colors, to the character designs, to the little chibi faces they make sometimes, to the to the little creatures running around, to the backgrounds, to the theme song, to the music, to the opening, to the dialogue. Every single aspect of this show works in tandem to create the singular idea of fluffy. I remember listening to the background music at one point, and I just realized that the background music was just the Japanese word for fluffy being sung with like an upbeat, cheery beat to it. This show is fucking fluffy. And the characters are cute, and it introduces this little romantic angle. So you might be wondering why I gave it a 4, and the reason is because the show is really effective at conveying its idea, but it's also the only idea it conveys. And for 3 episodes, it's cool, but this is a 12-episode series, and after 12 episodes, I was starved for it to convey literally any other idea, and also the pastels started hurting my eyes. So it's hard to watch a whole series of this. I mean, it's good in a short dose, like a pill, but fuck, I could not. I just could not. So anyway, I've been Sacrobolic, your envoy of hope, and that's what I watched this week. I will see you next time. Bye-bye!